All right, welcome, church, to another episode with Pastor Dragonslayer. Today, we are going to review Spider-Man 2, and to be honest, this is long overdue. I know this is an older game, but we need to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to Spider-Man 2. And this current little game that I'm on is actually a new game plus, and I've already beat the game, and I'm gonna get right into this review. So I want to start off by saying that Spider-Man 2 is a great game, and I think it's a game that everybody should play, but I have some grievances. This game is so much fun. Especially, I think I'll start from like the best parts of it to my biggest grievances. The best part is what I'm doing right now, and that's simply the traversal. Swinging through the city is so much fun. It's one of the best feelings when it comes to a game, as far as not even wanting to fast travel. You're able to just literally have fun, feel like you are able to kind of go about like swinging in whatever your play style is, whether it's like running on walls, web-slinging from city to city, flying with web wings, new edition. The traversal alone, I would give like a 10 out of 10. It's pretty good, but this is where, that's the best part of the game. Now, the combat, I would say, is more of a 6 out of 10. And at the beginning, it feels satisfying enough, but it's almost like you get really overpowered quickly in this game. To where the first time I played it was on, I think, like Ultimate, or like the idea of the hardest option available before New Game Plus, and I found it was just a little too easy. It didn't feel like a super challenge or anything, and I'm not saying that necessarily has to, but there's a point where it just feels a little monotonous or like too easy. The combat is a little simple. It's kind of like once you get a hang of it, it just feels like rinse and repeat, especially with the different gadgets that you end up getting. With like the more gadgets that you get, you can make it as creative as you like. And you can kind of like play with your food in a sense through the combat. But if you were just streamlining, it'd be really easy to not have fun because of how easy the combat can feel. Again, great game, great traversal, 10 out of 10, but the combat feels a little boring after a while. Now, the combat alone doesn't kill the game, because it's still, again, I started off by saying this is a good game, and I think everyone should play. But where it starts getting a little weird is the story. The story is probably, I would say, a 4 out of 10, maybe a 5 out of 10. It's the only parts it has going for it is the fact that it's a Spider-Man story, but it's almost like I felt a little disappointed going through it, because the first Spider-Man, the story was engaging all the way through, to where, by the way, spoilers if you haven't played this game already, spoilers all from this point forward. So the first Spider-Man, even when Doc Ock was, in a sense, character building and about to just turn out right evil, the way they played on him being a mentor, and like there's almost like a hope I had. Even though I knew what was going to happen, I still almost like had a hope that something would change. And it kept me captivated all the way through. In this story, there's just so many parts to where they grab your attention and then lose it. They grab it and drop it, and from that goes across the board from like side quests to the main mission itself. Like again, major spoilers. The main your main enemy from the beginning seems to be Craven, and when it comes to actually progressing through the story and you're building up this huge character plot through Craven, you're not even necessarily the one that defeats him. He gets his head bitten off by Venom, and then Venom just steals the show, and it's just all about Venom the rest of the time. And it was just kind of like a really unsatisfying ending to Craven, especially after doing all this build-up of getting his backstory and trying to figure out why he's there. And it was just kind of like a letdown. It was like, okay. And they keep, in this game, they keep building you up to where you're about to feel good about something and then taking it away from you. And that goes from like the main story beats to the side missions. It's like every side mission with a side arc of a major villain turns into just being like a giant misunderstanding. And I get what they're trying to do. They made this game like super like politically heightened, and so every like side villain or side quest ends up just being like, oh, the super villain was actually reformed and they're trying to start a better life. And I get this, like the heart and the ideology that you're trying to project in that, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like it's just like you want to just like I got Spider-Man just so I could fight supervillains, and so it was kind of a little. Each story was like a letdown to where it's like, it just ended up being a big misunderstanding, and so I guess I should have never been figuring out what Mysterio was doing anyway, and. Again, just like the gameplay was like I feel like even the side missions were sometimes funner than the main story beats, but the story itself through the side mission was like holding in a sneeze and never being able to sneeze, and you never got that satisfaction. Just build up, but no chew, and it was just like that with every part of the story. And that leads us into the actual like storyline or length of the game itself. So I've played Spider-Man 1, I played the Miles Morales, and again, these are all great games, and I think that they did improve on itself each time, but this was a pretty short game to beat. I feel like it was almost. It felt almost like equivalent to the Miles Morales game. And at first, I kind of had to think about it because I thought, well, no, it did take me longer. Miles Morales maybe like 13 hours, and then Spider-Man 2 maybe 18 hours. But I realized that one thing that they do, and again, it goes back to how they keep like taking away the fun from you, is within, especially the beginning of the game, when you start the story, they keep having some like major holdbacks to where, if you played the first one, they have like a lot of like say Mary Jane missions where you're not Spider-Man, you're playing as like a Mary Jane or Miles before he gets his powers, and you're just like sneaking around and using little gadgets to work through an area. It's like some of the missions are that, but some of the missions aren't even they're not even that. It's just like I guess like they use it to establish lore, and you could go and interact with these different moments to like build more lore, or like have Peter say something. But there's so many of those where it's like as soon as you get into the action at the beginning, they throw you in a mission like that's mandatory to where you have to slow down and kind of like lose that high that you had from the story beat and the mission, and it's just a constant pullback and pulling of the rug right when you're getting into it. And at first, like I'm saying, that I thought maybe okay, they're just trying to like build the story out more. But I realized that what they're actually, and again, this is conjecture, but what they're actually doing is trying to put filler missions in to where if they didn't, like, each of those missions end up taking, like, I might be exaggerating, but like 30 to 45 minutes of just doing something that you don't even want to do. And so if you put all of those together, then you're really looking at like several hours of doing these kind of like fake missions that, yeah, you could say like maybe it is, if that's your vibe and you enjoy those boring parts, then great. But what it felt like was something that they did to make the game feel longer. And after realizing that, I realized if they took all those out, it's probably as long as like a Miles Morales game. Which was kind of like touted as being just like a little bit bigger than a DLC. And so again, great game, loved it, have a lot of fun. I was excited to get in the New Game Plus, but even with that, I will say one extra big positive from the last game to this game is that the suits. If you're a skins person, the suits are pretty dope. I really like the suits that I had, but they did go an extra level to where not only do you have the suits from the old game, suits from the Miles game, but they added a customizable feature to where you can adjust the color schemes of the suits. And for me, I actually really enjoyed that. It was kind of felt like it set my vibe for my playthrough. Made me feel like I was. I like the level of customization each of the suits had. So again, that was another positive. Now for the big problem I had with the game, and that was, and I kind of hinted at it earlier. It was the kind of like Well, let me back up. There's actually two major things that I don't like about the game. And I'll start with the plain Jane one that I don't like first. The last mission of the game, you are forced to wear, Miles is forced to wear like a suit, and it's probably the lamest suit in the game. And at first I was just thought, okay, that's cool, and it presents it as like him starting his own path, like I want to do my own thing, as if it's like the first time he made a suit and it looks different than Peter's, and it's kind of like it just doesn't really fit well in this, like in the art, because it's like you're making suits the whole time, like you have this whole like closet full of suits. It doesn't really make sense, like the dialogue that he's saying. And so it feels kind of, and it forces you to wear it. Like you don't have a choice. And so you spend the whole game filling your closet with these cool suits that look really dope. Like I think that they really do look cool. And then all of a sudden you're forced to wear the lamest suit in the game. And then 2 weeks after the game had come out and I finished that part, maybe it was 2 months, I don't know, but it was a little bit after I finished that part, finished the game, and just kind of forgot about it. Well, Adidas ended up announcing their line of be dressed like Spider-Man, and it was literally a commercial plug, and you could buy the whole suit from Adidas. And I realized that, dude, they just forced the last mission of the game to be a commercial, an ad, and it just totally sucked the life out of the game for me. Like I was trying to be so optimistic through all the parts that I didn't like, but that kind of just like ruined it for me. I wouldn't say ruin, but it made me just not happy with the game as much as I was trying to be. So again, that was one of the big bummers of the game. Still, I think everyone should play it. Super fun. Now here's the real hitter, and this might be a little controversial. So let's just pump the brakes and just understand that this is an opinion. Everything I'm saying is an opinion. So you could just accept it or leave it, but you don't have to, try to fight me over it. And that is, I felt like the game pushed really heavily in its political ideology. And I'm not trying to be insensitive by saying woke, but it was just like super far left liberal ideologies that was present, and little tidbits throughout the game. And again, I don't really. It's not even that I have a problem with that. A lot like there's always, everything is always trying to present an agenda or convince you of something. I'm well aware of like many movies, games, shows are presenting an ideology, and trying to challenge your perspective and all that. And I'm all for that. I'm all for being open-minded, being challenged to think differently than I do. It's not that it was doing that. It was it was almost like weak writing in the way that it was doing it, to where I was like unconvinced of the ideologies that I was trying to portray, and they were so obvious that it was like ruining the story for me. It was taking me out of the gameplay because of how consistently forced it was within the story, within the gameplay. And just to kind of like hit some key examples, like when you first start out in the missions, or first start off the story, you beat Sandman, and you kind of go to some different areas of the city to clean up some sand, and you run into some criminals that are breaking into a gun store, and they got Peter Parker saying, why do we even have a gun store in the city? And it's like immediately makes it as if like the store owner that is getting robbed is the bad guy for selling guns. And it was just like a total it was like obviously they were like projecting against the right to carry or Second Amendment. Again, people can have their thoughts, their opinions about that, but it was like it felt so forced, where it's like, dude, he literally did not need to say that. Like, they did not need to make Spider-Man say that. In this moment, it felt just so out of place. And there's like a lot of moments to where it was like, it felt like it was hijacking the story. This push to convince me of a different political view, or to convince me of this ideology. And again, it was just really poor writing. Like, it wasn't even doing it in a unique way or a way that fit. It was just totally forced. And just as like like even with that scenario itself, it's like it didn't make sense for what was going on. Like this push that why do we even need guns? We just need to sell hugs. That's why we need to make a hug store or something. Again, really, really unfitting. But this is all after the first game, in which Mayor Osborn hired a whole second army to oppress the people of the city. And so it's kind of like the irony is that the very reason, like the right to bear arms, is specifically for the overstepping and overarching of government. And the first game literally portrays that. And if Spider-Man wasn't there, which is like real life, then the people would have been helpless against the army that the Mayor Osborn even hired. They would have been forced to comply, even though it was obviously, like, the whole story is that it was wrong and that they were abusing the power and forcing people to, in a sense, be enslaved to the mayor. And so the irony is that it was like the very thing he was talking trash about was the very thing that, in a sense, what it was made for in the first place. So again, didn't like that. But there's a lot of other tones, a lot of other things that you're like forced to do, and it just again it just didn't seem necessary. It is like clearly they were pushing agenda. And I'll give you one more example. And again, this is is just an opinion, and I don't have a problem with games being far left, far right, having a perspective or an agenda. I really don't care. Like I'm there for the ride, I'm there for the journey. But another spot that was like forced to where it doesn't even fit to like what we're doing, was a side mission. So if you want to platinum the game, you have to do this side mission, and you're helping like a gay high school student ask out his boyfriend to prom, and like the whole mission is just you doing like these silly little things to help him be able to ask out his boyfriend. And I want to be clear that it's like I don't have a problem with there being LGBT or anything in the game, but it was just about it being. It just again was another point that felt so forced, so unnecessary, and didn't fit with the story at all. Like this was just making me do this, and again the other reference was like the criminal reform, like where every side villain was just a big misunderstanding that they actually got reformed in prison. Again, I don't really care about the like that they have that belief or that opinions or whatever. Is again just like it just felt like everywhere I turn they're trying to force me to think like this way or believe this way, and even just like as a comparison, if maybe you're hearing this and you're thinking like, wow, I guess he's a homophobe. No, not at all. It literally doesn't bother me at all. A game I like is The Last of Us, and especially The Last of Us Part 2, and I've almost every main character in that game is either trans or projected trans, gay. It's like filled with it to where I think it's like more so for me it feels like almost a little unbelievable. Every person in the post-apocalyptic world is apparently gay. But I'm cool. I can fly with that. Okay, it was still a fun game, and it still fit within their different narratives and character arcs. Like you're literally even fighting for one of the spoilers and like one main theme in the story is you're like fighting for this person's right to be trans in their culture, and it's like, okay, whatever. Like I didn't even have a problem with that. It's like it still fit within the story to where I knew what they were doing, but it's not like I felt like I was so bothered by it or anything. It was nothing like that. In fact, in comparison to that game, where that game every character is gay, like every character is gay or trans, I would say that this game pushes that kind of like forced ideology even more so. The way that it presents everything, the way that it doesn't even fit within the story, the narratives, and to where it just feels like you're kind of like eating a barf sandwich after a while. Again, I would still play it again. I'm playing it right now. I would play it over and over. It was fun, but those forced story beats really kind of ruined the game for me, just because it felt like the ending. Like I'm just being forced to play through a commercial. I'm being forced to play through a political ad campaign. That's really what it felt like. And that plus the repetitive combat, being saved by the traversal, being saved by the customization of the suits, I would give this game final score a solid 6 out of 10. And I think I'm being pretty. I think I'm being fair. When I first played it, I thought maybe 8 out of 10, but after considering like really how much it ruined the story for me, I think 6 out of 10 is the final offer there. That being said, the first Spider-Man, I would say, is 8, maybe even a 9. And yeah, it has like the first experience to where it's like it had a big wow factor to where they really nailed the vibe of Spider-Man and the traversal and everything, and it was the first time playing. But the traversal in this one is legitimately funner. And it's just all those things I mentioned that kind of just dampen the vibe. So again, final score 6 out of 10. That being said, I would still say it's a must play. All that's being said, it's a must play, super fun game, and I think that I sincerely think anyone would be missing out if they didn't play this game, because at the end of the day, it has some really fun elements, and there, with everything I said about the story, there's still some parts of the story that was dope. I did have some surprises, some good takeaways too, but again, I was just sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly. So again, check it out. Definitely a great game. That's what I have to say about that. Thank you, church.